Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, July 22nd, 2022. Coming up, a Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network in Chicago. Body cam footage of a 13-year-old teen boy shot by a cop gets released, and that black teen is now paralyzed. I'll talk to the family's attorney, who says the footage clearly shows the victim raised his hands in the video. I'll also recap last night's hearing for the January 6th committee. Folks, more disturbing details about what took place in the attempted coup that was encouraged by Donald Trump. We'll also talk with Officer Harry Dunn, one of the few Capitol cops who fought to protect our democracy that day. In tonight's Education Matters segment, I'll be talking to Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. He paved the way for many college graduates to excel while serving as the University of Maryland Baltimore County president. He is retiring and passing the torch on to someone else. Tonight, we'll explain how he turned the once small university into one of the significant academic powerhouses in America. Also, we'll John Grant of ESPN about what they are doing for SWAC schools and other HBCU conferences when it comes to football. That and more on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. It is time to bring the funk. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, newly released police body cam video of an officer in Chicago shooting a 13-year-old boy shows that young man raising his hands in the air a moment before shots were fired. Now, again, for many people, these videos that we show oftentimes are triggering. If that is the case, please turn away while we actually show this video. The shooting took place on May 18th on Chicago's west side. And again, the young man who's identified as AG has been paralyzed. Go ahead and play the video, folks. The young man that all of a sudden you see at one point, he turns around, raises his hands, but the officer fires his weapon. Attorney Andrew Stroff represent the young man's family. Folks, pull a bit audio up, please. Okay, now there's audio there. So do this here. So I want you to restart the video, please. And I want to go back to the beginning, and I want audio pulled all the way up. Okay, fine. Roll the video back over again. And so before I go to Andrew, I want to play the video again so people can actually see what took place. This is the video that has been released. Hit play. And so you see, again, they're going down this street here, and all of a sudden they're going toward a gas station, and then you see the gun being fired. So joining us right now is attorney Andrew Stroff. Andrew, glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Okay, folks, I need y'all to pull up. Hey, did you pull up Andrew's audio, please? Thank you.
Thanks so much, Roland, for having me on your show today.
Okay, there you go. All right, so Andrew, let's do this here. First of all, walk us through in terms of what actually happened here. First of all, why were they pursuing your client?
So our client was in a car that was stolen. The police were following that car. My client was the passenger in that car. The vehicle stopped. My client, a 13-year-old black boy, got out of the car, ran away from the officers. And what you see on the newly released video, Roland, is the client, my 13-year-old client, running away, his arms pumping. He hears the officers say, "Put your hands up." He puts his hands up while he's slightly turning, and without cause or provocation, is shot in the back.
Okay, so he's a passenger in the car. Was he aware it was a stolen vehicle? Was it just?
I'm not sure what he knew or didn't know, but
Okay.
It was a stolen vehicle that was involved earlier and on another day in a carjacking, and so the authorities did have the right to go after the car. My issue is when my client got out, ran away, clearly unarmed. All the objective video shows that he was unarmed. Several eyewitnesses reported that he was unarmed and obeying the officer's commands to put his hands up. And without cause or provocation, he's shot in the back, shattered part of his spinal cord. He's paralyzed, we believe, based on the doctors, from the waist down. And he also suffered a major injury to his esophagus. And here's the thing, Roland, in Chicago, as you know from your time here, there's a pattern and practice of abuse by the police in Chicago against black and brown folks. There's been so many police pursuits that have ended in the death of a black or brown person, or in our case with this client, a serious permanent injury. And how many black boys and men need to die or be severely injured until the mayor and the city will enforce a police pursuit policy that values the sanctity of life, especially black life?
So this video that we have queued up, folks, I want y'all to play that video because I got a couple of questions for Andrew. So folks, play this video here. You see him going down here. Now you see, freeze it right there. Freeze it right there. Now, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers on the right side of the screen. Play the video, please. I see 1, 2, 3 coming from the left side of the screen. Now, go back to the previous video, folks, that shows you the footage from like the center position of the gas station, and you're gonna give a better understanding. Okay, so play that video you have queued up right now. Okay, so all of a sudden you see the client shot. Now you see officers come in. I see 1, I see 2, I see 3. So basically, the reason I wanted that to be shown that way, Andrew, So he's running away. You've got
Yes.
6 cops behind him.
Yes.
You've got 3 cops in front of him. Basically, he's boxed in.
Completely surrounded, Roland.
Why? Again, no weapon. First of all, did he have a weapon?
No weapon. No weapon.
So what's the point of firing shots?
No point. And here's the thing, too, Roland. The officer did not activate his body camera. You have to do that as an officer. You have to activate your body camera. He was the only officer who didn't activate his body camera. And Roland, this same officer had a similar incident a year ago with his gun out, chasing a subject and firing. So you got an officer with a history of using his weapon unjustifiably. And now you have a 13-year-old black boy who is paralyzed potentially from the waist down for the rest of his life because he ran away from the police. And being black in Chicago, you can understand why people run away from the police, given the history in this town.
There are going to be people who will say, this is what happens when you're running with certain folks and you're in a car that was stolen and the car was involved in some type of carjacking. But what I still contend is that when we see these examples, Chicago or other cities, officers firing at somebody who's running away.
Yes.
The logic behind that still makes no sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Roland, there's a reason why there's a federal consent decree in Chicago because of the abuse by police against black and brown people. And here's the thing. He was in a stolen car. But what world are we living in if officers can shoot and use lethal force here, very dangerous force that injured my client? I mean, what world are we living in if you can just shoot at someone that presents no threat to you or other officers or anyone else? He was running away unarmed. And then drag away. And then look at this. Look at how they drag him like a rag doll away from the scene. He's just been shot in the back. There's blood gushing out of his back. And you see the officers pull him with no care, no regard. And this is a kid with a major spinal injury. So, I mean, would they treat a white kid like that? I mean, it's very disturbing.
I have my panelists here. They may very well have some questions here. Let me introduce to today's show, Kayla Bethea, communication strategist, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney. Matt, you're first up.
So I have a couple of questions for you. The first is, I know that Illinois was considering getting rid of qualified immunity for officers there. What happened with that bill, and how is that factoring into strategy, number one?
Qualified immunity
and number two,
very much alive and well in the state of Illinois. And as your viewers may or may not know, that's a judicial doctrine that gives police extra protections when they're involved and they use force. And it's a doctrine that should be eliminated. But it's still active in the state of Illinois for sure.
Here's the second question that I have, and I appreciate that. Watching the video, the first thing I thought is he's actually running into the light. So I'm interested how CPD has addressed that problem, because as it relates to determining whether he has a weapon or not, it's actually especially problematic that he's running to an illuminated area that's obviously the brightest area in the whole environment. So have they made any comments about that and tried to defend Officer Ball in that respect?
Well, they have. Well, that's a great question. First of all, it was a very well lit. The gas station was incredibly well lit. It's clear that he was unarmed and running and pumping his arms. It's very disturbing. The lawyer for the officer has already come out and said the officer had to make a split-second decision. He thought he was in danger. I mean, the lawyer representing the officer represents several officers, and that lawyer has never seen an unjustified shooting. And in this case, the reason it's so egregious is unarmed, running away, didn't threat. And that's a great question, because this isn't down a dark alley where you can't see anything. Right. This is incredibly well lit. And I will also tell your viewers, Roland, thank God that we had the surveillance video from the gas station. Thank God we had the police body cams of the officers who did turn their cameras on, even though the shooting officer didn't. And thank God we have eyewitness reports that support the video that this young boy did not present a threat.
I'm confused here. So they're saying the officer said he was in danger. How?
Yeah, the officer said that he thought there was a cell phone or something, that he was in threat, that he thought the young man was armed. But also, as the lawyer just mentioned with the lighting, no other officer shot. And Roland, as you pointed out, this young man, not only was he completely surrounded, there was a Chicago helicopter above. And then, I mean, there was no threat. And so for them to say there was a threat from an officer who likes to take out his gun and shoot is just completely unacceptable, unreasonable. And this mother has to take 24/7 care of her 13-year-old boy. And let me tell you, Roland, this kid likes to ride his bike. This young man likes to play basketball. His life has changed forever, and the city of Chicago is on the hook. And they've got to value the sanctity of life.
Kelly, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I can't keep. I keep going back to the fact that this is a 13-year-old child. This is a minor that we're talking about. And can you just speak to the fact that there's this terrible pattern of infantilizing white men versus adultizing Black children? And then on top of that, just in general, if you were using lethal force against an unarmed person, especially one such as this who is not only a minor, but his back is turned towards police. He's unarmed. He's not in any threatening position whatsoever towards the police. Can you just talk about how lazy this is as far as policing is concerned?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. What I see in Chicago, because I've represented several victims of police foot pursuits, if the officer can't catch the young child or the young boy or the teenager or even the adult male, they use their weapons to catch the suspect. And that's not how it's supposed to work as it relates to, police have two powers that no one else has. They have the ability to take people into custody, so take away their freedom, and they have the power to use lethal force. Those are two high responsibilities. And so this kid weighs 120 pounds. He's in 7th grade. And so this was no adult carjacker. It just they try to address the narrative. And the truthful narrative is a 13-year-old unarmed Black boy running away from the cops, shot in the back by an officer who likes to use force, and a police department that has a serious documented history of a pattern and practice of abuse.
Michael.
Thanks for coming on today, Attorney Stroff. Couple of questions here. I think one was already answered. So only one officer fired out of probably about a dozen officers. Only one fired a shot. He didn't have his body camera on. So with the Chicago Police Department, what are the consequences if you have an officer involved shooting and they do not activate their body camera, number one? And then secondly, can you address why the 13-year-old's body was moved? Because that could have caused, and generally speaking, that could cause possibly more injuries if they move the body. So why did they move his body also after he was shot?
Well, I'm going to ask you questions in backward order.
That's fine.
The second question, why did they move him? They said they moved him because he was near the gas pump, and they were worried. To me, it was so negligent because they saw where he was shot in the back. He's bleeding out, and they just dragged him with no care. So he shouldn't have been moved. Period.
Right.
And he should have been. And if they did want to move him, they should have probably moved him with a certain level of care or with a board. The first question is very disturbing in Chicago, where officers can violate their own general orders or policies, like activating your body camera, and hardly ever do they face discipline. In fact, yesterday, an officer who shot and killed a Hispanic man, he got 20 days of suspension for killing a Hispanic man, young man, 20 days of suspension. Other than that, no implications. So this officer may get reprimanded, but our perspective is the FBI is investigating, the state's attorney is investigating, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability is investigating, and our perspective is the officer should be indicted and charged for shooting and paralyzing this 13-year-old unarmed black boy. But as you guys know, hardly ever do you get indictments against officers, and even less do you get convictions. We filed on May 26th a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Chicago and the shooting officer and the other officers involved. And here's the thing. Even if we're successful and get the family money, it doesn't matter. That mom wants her kid to be able to walk. And so to say, it's not okay. The system has got to change.
Right.
Attorney Andrew Stroth, we certainly appreciate it. Certainly keep us abreast of what happens next in this case.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks, gotta go to break. When we come back, we'll talk the craziness on January 6th, how Donald Trump stood around gleefully watching as his domestic terrorist thugs tried to overturn an election. Shocking testimony where Secret Service members for Vice President Mike Pence were literally phoning their relatives, telling them goodbye because they thought the end was near. That's how crazy and dangerous things were on that day. And then we'll show you punk-ass Josh Hawley giving the thumbs up to the protesters, then running his little punk-ass out the back door when things got hot. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and on the next Get Wealthy, have you heard that it's not how much you earn, but how much you keep that matters? Well, the secret to building wealth could be hidden in our tax code. That's right. Joining me on the next Get Wealthy is someone who calls herself the gatekeeper to the IRS. And she's going to be sharing the secrets and strategies you need to know, whether you're a business owner or an individual, how you can get wealthy. That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
Sexy to me is the exact same feeling as running water, ever flowing. Water always finds a way to get through. And so when you know that you're sexy, there are no questions about it. It is an ever-flowing emotion. It is an ever-flowing feeling. When you question it, though, you stop the water. I struggle with this a lot, mainly because I've been told what sexy should look like, what it should feel like. As a model who did Sports Illustrated, you're told that this is what sells sexy, but then you travel the world and what's sexy to one person is not sexy to another person. I'm more of a mindfuck kind of person. How can you stimulate the brain? To me, that's sexy.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Chrisette Michelle, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
More devastating testimony took place last night on the Capitol Hill as the January 6th Select Committee continued to lay out a minute-by-minute breakdown of how Donald Trump stood by, gleefully, happily, watched these domestic terrorists attack Capitol Police officers and try to overthrow the election. They released video showing congressional leaders gathered around the phone trying to talk to the defense secretary to understand when order could be restored.
We're not going to let these people keep us from finishing our business. So we need you to get the building cleared, give us the okay so we can go back in session and finish up the people's business as soon as possible.
Mr. Secretary and Senator Schumer, some people here in the Capitol Police believe it would take us several days to secure the building. Do you agree with that analysis?
I'm not on the ground, but I do not agree with that analysis.
So what is the earliest that we could safely resume our proceedings in the Senate and House chambers? The earliest we could safely resume?
Here's my assessment, but I prefer to be on the ground, which I personally would prefer to be right now, but I need to be here. I would say, best case, we're looking at 4 to 5 hours.
One of the instigators, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, and this is somebody who gave the "y'all keep at it" sign to the protesters. But then his little punk ass is seen on video running away when things got heated.
Senator Josh Hawley also had to flee. Earlier that afternoon, before the joint session started, he walked across the east front of the Capitol. As you can see in this photo, he raised his fist in solidarity with the protesters already amassing at the security gates. We spoke with a Capitol police officer who was out there at the time. She told us that Senator Hawley's gesture riled up the crowd, and it bothered her greatly because he was doing it in a safe space, protected by the officers and the barriers. Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
Folks, it was so embarrassing that when they played that video in the room, literally the audience laughed seeing him running away. Probably one of the most shocking things we heard is when they talked to an official in the White House, and they protected this person's identity, who said he overheard Secret Service agents on Vice President Mike Pence's details, literally phoning loved ones saying their last goodbyes.
Okay, that last entry in this page is service to the Capitol does not sound good right now.
Correct.
What does that mean?
The members of the VP detail at this time were starting to fear for their own lives. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of very personal calls over the radio. So. It was disturbing. I don't like talking about it, but there were calls to say goodbye to family members, so on and so forth. It was getting, for whatever the reason was on the ground, the VP detail thought that this was about to get very ugly.
And did you hear that over the radio?
Correct.
Okay. What was the response by the agents, Secret Service agents who were there?
Everybody kept saying, at that point it was just reassurances or I think there were discussions of reinforcements coming, but again, it was just chaos. They were just yelling.
Obviously, you conveyed the disturbing, but what prompted you to put it into an entry, as it states there, service to the Capitol?
If they're running out of options and they're getting nervous, it sounds like that we came very close to either service having to use lethal options or worse. Like at that point, I don't know. Is the VP compromised? Is the detail I don't know. Like we didn't have visibility, but it doesn't. If they're screaming and saying things like "say goodbye to the family," like the floor needs to know this is going to on a whole nother level soon.
One of the people who understands exactly what that fear was like is Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn. He was there. He was in the midst of the turmoil. So many Capitol Police officers were attacked viciously by those domestic terrorists, and these are the so-called law and order people who didn't give a damn about these Capitol Police officers. Harry, glad to have you join us on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You have been attending these hearings. You have been listening to what has unfolded. And how does it feel? I mean, here you were on this side of this day, in the midst of it, while it's unfolding. But how does it make you feel to find out what was happening and the very people who were supposed to have y'all back were simply doing nothing? And Donald Trump was happy to see it. And not only that, now you have these people coming out and testifying, but in real time, they said nothing. They literally talked among themselves. And then some of them, when they left the White House, were thanking him for able to serve. But now, they have courage because now they're talking. But January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and on, they said nothing.
Yeah, you're talking about January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. What about January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, the year before, or the year before?
Right.
It's a new behavior from the president, the former president. He's shown himself to be the person that we expected. That's why going into that hearing, I was prepared to see and hear anything. Nothing that I thought that I would hear was going to surprise me that day, because I didn't really have any expectations. I know what happened. I was there. My coworkers were there. We heard what these people were saying, and just reliving it again. It makes you angry, but I wasn't really surprised about anything that came out of there. These people told us that on January 6th, while we were fighting these people, we're not leaving. Donald Trump told us to come here. Donald Trump sent us. So, I mean, it is refreshing for the whole country to be able to see what we knew that day. But I'm conflicted, though, honestly, with people that are coming forward and to have. I mean, on one hand, I do appreciate them doing that. I mean, great, you're doing what you're supposed to do. But on the other hand, I'm like you just said, you couldn't do anything before. Like, we couldn't stop this. There was nothing that could be done. So.
And for me, I saw something today that I got to speak to. I thought this was quite interesting. Joe Scarborough was just shocked and beside himself on Morning Joe. Call this Trump a heinous individual, and I actually tweeted, yeah, Joe, we tried to tell you. I said, when y'all were calling me in 2015 to be on your show, I was saying the same thing. And if y'all had not stopped calling in January 2016, we'll tell you the same thing. What drives me crazy are the people who gave him comfort. The people who, that's just Trump being Trump. The people who advised him, who counseled him. In 2020, the people, after all he did for 4 years, he should get 4 more years. The Chris Christies of the world, Jack Nicklaus, Ari Fleischer, all of these people. But it's amazing how they're silent right now. They're not live tweeting this hearing. They're not saying, oh my God, this is a damn shame. So all of these people, I mean, we saw that evilness before January 6, 2021.
You know what? They did too. Just think about it. Think back to in the early of Trump's presidency, where there was an anonymous op-ed that came out. I believe it was in the New York Times. And there was a group of defectors or whatever that agreed to stay to try to keep him in line and keeping him in check. Just think about that. They knew way back then. So they knew way before January 6th happened. They knew that what kind of person he was. So yeah, you were telling people, a lot of people were warning about him, and they, like you just said, that's Trump being Trump. And look what Trump being Trump got us, and look where we are now. So,
for your fellow officers, you're still there in the Capitol, protecting people who are trashing this committee. People, you got the House Republicans tweeting last night that one of the witnesses, she's a liar, then they had to delete those tweets because she still works for them. And you got folks who are saying, oh, this is hearsay. You know what, we should be able to cross-examine, doubting all of this, and y'all still are protecting them.
Yeah, when all this started and, it started to get partisan and, in my testimony last year, I said that you cannot take politics out of the January 6th investigation because the reason January 6th happened is because of politics. So you can't take politics out of it. So I had to struggle and find out something bigger, like how can I keep doing this? So I realized and I focus on the mission of my job and I dig into that patriotism that, a lot of people, especially a lot of Black people they have this patriotism about their country and they love it. And I've said before, sometimes you feel like you love this country, even when it doesn't love you back. And I think Magic Johnson said that. But I believe that that resonated with me. So you got to realize that, that seat of a member of Congress who I may disagree with who may downplay what happened, that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. But that seat that seat that member holds, it represents more people than that one individual. That seat is going to continue to exist when that member is voted out or retires, or it existed before that member. So you got to look at the bigger picture that you're out here defending democracy for America and not just one individual. You got to put it into perspective and be able to do your job, regardless of who is doing, whoever has an opinion in whatever seat of Congress that they're representing.
When you look at the likes of Fox News refusing to even air the hearings in prime time, when you think about I saw a story today. Only 8 out of 50 Republicans say they've watched any parts of the hearing. I saw a video last night where one of the individuals who has been out here, with you testifying, speaking on these issues, is Officer Michael Fanon. And last night, here's a man who suffered greatly, suffered a heart attack as a result of all of this. Luckily, is still here. This happens last night as he is trying to leave the U.S. Capitol.
Why were you there January 6th? You were not even on duty. Why were you there January 6th, Michael Fanon? You were not even on duty. Why do you work for CNN now? Are you a real police officer?
Leave me alone, sir.
Are you disappointed that you're going to make men face years in jail because of your lives?
Why do you have so many fucking kidding me? An assault. Fucking kidding me?
I mean, these folks literally do not care, but they claim to love the blue. Blue Lives Matter.
A friend of mine sent me something today, and it said, avoid people who incite things and then play the victim role. And that's exactly what you see there. Mike, he self-proclaimed was a Donald Trump supporter. He voted for Donald Trump. But he came out there and he's still subjected to what you just saw on that and then some. That back the blue stuff, that's just assault rhetoric and it doesn't mean anything because it just sounds good. They find these slogans that just sound good that people, and it's grifting, it's not just grifting for money, it's grifting for support, for just anything that you can latch on that make people follow you. It's kind of like almost cult-like. These individuals, they just want something to just latch on to, no matter how stupid or asinine it sounds. It's so frustrating, but that's why you take it with a grain of salt. Like, man, Black, okay, whatever, man. I'm not paying attention to that.
The hearings are going to continue. members of Congress have said that Congresswoman Liz Cheney said the dam is breaking. More subpoenas are being issued. More people are ready to testify. I'm glad to see more people are all of a sudden, getting the courage, because the reality is, many of these people, they would have stayed silent. They would have stayed silent. We would have not have known. Now you hear, Secret Service deleting text messages, even though they were told to preserve messages. That has to actually send a shudder through your body as a Capitol Police officer. Y'all work with Secret Service a whole lot. And I can only imagine standing there and going, well, who the hell is with me? Well, who the hell is with America? And who the hell is with the people who were the coup? They're literally, you don't know who's in your midst.
That's why it's very important for the committee, or not even committee of Congress, because I believe there's a Freedom of Records Preservation Act. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that's a federal law that states that any federal, like, for instance, if I sent an email to anyone at the White House, okay, they cannot delete that email. It is to be preserved.
Yeah. So that's why it's interesting. So I think that Congress, then, not just the committee, needs to get to the bottom of like whether this was intentional, deliberate, nefarious. Sure, on the surface it's like, there's no way that could have happened. I'm not familiar with that. That's outside of my realm of responsibilities. But it doesn't sound right, and I think it's important for them to clear it up and be transparent about what happened. Because at the end of this, what are we doing? Everybody wants to make sure that nothing like this happens again, and we need to find out exactly what happened and all who was involved. When these hearings first started, I was asked the question, what are you hoping to find out from this hearing? And I don't even know, because look how much in these hearings, it's been 8 of them, how much stuff that we're learning that we didn't even think to ask. Like, did we even know that we don't even know what we don't know?
Right.
So we go into September, like, what more could you possibly give us? Like, what? The dam is just breaking? There's more? So it's surprising, but buckle in. Here we go.
Earlier you said that you can't take the politics out of it. But one of the things that is also very real is that there's an election in November. And the very people who have trashed these hearings, people have trashed you. They've trashed other officers. There were people who refused to even vote to thank Capitol Police officers for their patriotism, for keeping them safe. These folks could be in control of the House. They win in November, they win the majority, then they are in charge of committees, they're in control of the House, they're in power. They could very well shut down any effort to keep learning the truth. How scary is that? That the possibility exists if this committee does not get its work done before November, that we may not have the full story of all that happened leading up to January 6, 2021 and after.
So selfishly, that for me specifically, that is scary, because, that's why people know who I am, because I've been advocating for the truth to come out from day one. And I feel like anybody should want to know the truth, no matter if you're Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. I guess the people that don't want to know the truth are the people that possibly are complicit, or it makes them look bad. So I think that's the reasons why people wouldn't want to know the truth. But like I said, you cannot take politics out of it. What is scary, though, January 6th, when is the next January 6th? Can that happen again? And as of now, there's been nothing done to ensure me or make me feel secure, or probably all of America, that cannot happen again. We just saw an attack up in New York. It was a Republican governor candidate that was attacked on stage, and these violent threats, these violent acts, they just keep happening against political people. And Adam Kinzinger yesterday said that there's this whatever what's the word he used? I can't remember the exact word he used, but it's still out there. These people, it's almost like you said, it's cult-like, and these people just still they don't believe, they don't listen, they feel emboldened, they listen to lies, and it's getting worse and it's getting dangerous out here. So I really believe it's important for any member of Congress, any senator, any American to want to know the truth, get to the bottom of it, and put a stop to this violence, this rhetoric, this polarizing society that we live in. We can't continue this way. Where does it end? You know, look at like January 6th. Like, look how close we were. Like, you know, what if we're not so lucky next time?
Yep. Questions from my panel. I'll start with you, Kelly.
Hi, friend. Good to see you. And we've talked about this several times, specifically when it comes to how you have to conduct yourself within your own ranks, right? Because it's not just outside people who are biased against what you're doing. My understanding is that you still have people within law enforcement, both in your division and others nationwide, who do not agree with what you're doing. So my question to you is, how do you reconcile the need and the duty to tell the truth versus the perceived duty, rather, as a cop, to be objective or apolitical, which effectively is to be silent?
It's a simple answer for that. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. What's right should be spoken on, and what's wrong should be spoken against. It's just as simple as that. Everybody has a moral compass, and they know what's right and they know what's wrong. I try my best to be very matter of fact when it comes to these interviews, to speaking out, to doing my job. I'm just very matter of fact. I try to keep opinions out of it. So, you know, if I'm wrong or I disagree with something, that's all that is. But when it comes to actual matter of fact, did this happen? Yes or no? Why did it happen? This is why it happened. And that's it. But it's very important to continue keep speaking out on the truth. Like, I won't be silent about that because I believe in doing what's right.
Michael.
Hello, Officer Harry Dunn. Hey, it's a pleasure to talk to you, brother. You are a real American hero, and I appreciate everything that you do. My question is, do you encourage African Americans to become Capitol Hill police officers? I know the January 6th insurrection, and hearing from some African American Capitol Hill police officers and previous ones, they talk about the racism that they have experienced as Capitol Hill police officers. So do you encourage more African Americans to become Capitol Hill police officers? And maybe if you can share with us one or two reasons why you became a Capitol Hill police officer as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your kind words. No, so I absolutely believe, not necessarily just Capitol Police, I encourage members of any community to be involved in their communities. One of the reasons I believe that policing comes under such scrutiny, and a lot of times there are officers in communities that don't understand how communities work, is because police communities, the police don't look like the communities that they police.
Right.
Their representation. I mean, if you have a Asian community, you shouldn't be, you know, 80% Asian community should not be 90% Black police officers there. And, you know, in any demographic that you want to choose or plug into that communities need to look like and understand. Police communities need to look like the communities that they police. So I think it definitely is important. And I would encourage anybody in any community to join, you know, not just policing, it could be any kind of type of public service. Because like I said, this world that we're living in, it's our job to take care of it and to do it. Like, people aren't going to do stuff for us. So whether that is speaking out, volunteering, helping, like, we're here to give back. And I don't think a lot of people are doing that, and they're depending on one or two people to be a voice like for thousands and thousands, and it's taxing. And I've learned that just being one of the officers who's speaking out. Like, people jokingly call me a spokesperson. No, I'm not. I'm just speaking my truth. But
Right.
about what's important to me. And there's so many. That's the thing. Like, there's so many. Everybody's familiar with my story, but there were hundreds of officers on duty that day that have a story to tell. And I've been trying to get them to speak out and tell your story. This is what you coming out and talk. And for whatever reason, it's their choice, but a lot of people are not doing it. I became a police officer. Like, I use this. I kind of like have a type A personality with a type B heart. Like, I'm very passionate. I'm caring. But I also believe I have this. I'm 6'7". I have a stature. I command. I like to think I command a little bit of at least attention when I come around, and I know how to talk to people, and I want to see people succeed. I truly believe in service and public service and helping people, and I think that's what policing is about.
Thank you.
Matt?
Officer Dunn, I want to echo Michael's sentiments. I appreciate your service and your forthrightness in talking about not only what you experienced, but making sure the truth comes to light. And I have kind of a difficult question for you, but I'm interested nonetheless. How do you go to work every day and continue to protect people that not only disagree with you, as you alluded to earlier, but who have made political theater out of trying to deny what we saw happen in real time? I mean, how have you grappled with the fact that there are people you're continuing to protect who are not being honest about the fact that you had to protect them on January 6th from a riotous mob? How have you dealt with that?
Like I said, I realized that sometimes that things are bigger than you. It's not just about me. I also realized that, people use this term a lot, and I think it's interpreted wrong a lot. People need a seat at the table. Like, so what's the alternative to me not being there, to me leaving? I'm not going to let anybody's opinion or their behavior force me out of doing something that I'm good at, something that I like doing. I'm not going to allow anybody to do that. I'm going to continue to do my job the way I believe that is the right way to do, because that's what's important. I'm going to continue speaking out against my truth. What if, just counter your point, what if somebody says, you know what, how can I keep working around an individual like him who just keeps speaking out against what I'm speaking out against? I mean, why not look at it that way? I'm going to continue speaking my truth, what I believe is right. And I think it's easy. I think it's easy to, it was difficult to interpret, to find another narrative, frame it how I could continue to do it. That was difficult to find out how to frame. But once I did, I'm like, you know what, this isn't hard, because doing the right thing shouldn't be difficult, and it is for a lot of people, and I can't live like that. So.
Well, Harry Dunn, we appreciate your service. We appreciate you being forthright, not backing down, not running away. And also, last week when they had the hearing, one of those former Oath Keepers, I believe, the folks reported that he came up to you and apologized, and that you accepted it, and you tweeted, no, he apologized. He said it was not accepted.
That's correct. Like I said, it was acknowledged. I'm not against forgiveness at all. And maybe the gentleman, he was truly remorseful. That's fine. But right now, I'm not focused on forgiveness. One thing I continue to say is I can't be focused on forgiveness when I'm still seeking justice. There's so many people out there that still need to be brought to justice. And then we can start to heal once justice has been served. So
I agree with that 100%. Officer Dunn, we appreciate you joining us on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thanks, man. Glad we got to catch up.
Indeed. Thanks a bunch.
Yep. Take care.
Folks, if you wanted to see how sick and demented Donald Trump is, they released these outtakes where he went to the Rose Garden, and he was supposed to, of course, accept what took place, but just could not bring himself to say certain words because he's pretty illiterate. Roll it.
His staff had prepared a script for him to read, but he refused to use it. As you can see on the screen, you can see the script is stamped "President has seen." The script said, quote, "I'm asking you to leave the capital region now and go home in a peaceful way." The president was urged to stick to this script, but he spoke off the cuff. Eric Hirschman and Nick Luna went with the president to film the message in the Rose Garden. Let's hear what they had to say and see the never-before-seen raw footage of the president recording this video message.
Ultimately, these remarks that we're looking at here in Exhibit 25 were not the remarks that the president delivered in the Rose Garden. Do you know why the president decided not to use these?
I don't know, sir. No, I do not know why.
Did the president use any written remarks to your knowledge, or did he just go off the cuff?
To my knowledge, it was off the cuff, sir.
Good, Chase?
Yep.
When you're ready, sir.
Yep. I'll be right behind you. You tell me when?
When you're ready, sir.
Who's behind me?
Okay. He's gone around.
Clear.
We're all clear now.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had a election. Let me see. I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
When I got there, basically the president just had finished filming the video, and I think he was basically retiring for the day.
Was there any discussion about the president releasing a second video that day?
Not that I recall. When he finished his video, I think everyone was like, day's over. People were pretty drained.
Were pretty what?
Drained.
But we say day over, there were still people in the Capitol at that point, weren't there?
There were people in the Capitol, but I believe by this stage, law enforcement, and I'd have to go back and look, but I believe law enforcement was either there or moving in or going to take charge. I just say people were emotionally drained by the time that videotape was done.
Then, of course, that was the speech Trump gave on the day after, January 7th, where his sorry ass just cannot accept the fact that he got his ass whooped.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. You do not represent our movement. You do not represent our country. And if you broke the law, you can't say that. I already said you will pay. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well. Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to do this. Let's go. But this election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
But Congress is certified. Now Congress is
Yeah, Right.
Now
I
conversation.
didn't say over, so let me see. Go to the paragraph before. Okay? I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me.
Just take it out. The heinous attack.
Ah, good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with the heinous attack on our country. Say on our country. Want to say that?
No, keep this.
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
You know, if you supported that idiot for 2020, you have truly got to feel like one of the dumbest people ever for actually wanting that idiot back in the White House, Matt.
I don't know if there's anything for me to add. I think you're right.
I can add a lot.
Go ahead. Michael, go ahead.
See, we don't understand white supremacy. This is what this is. Go look at Rusty Bowers. Russell Rusty Bowers, House Speaker, Arizona, testified in the January 6th committee. He refused to go along with overturning the election results in Arizona. The day before he testified, he was interviewed, I think it was Associated Press, and he said, and they asked him, hey, would you vote for Trump again? He said, all things considered, he would vote for Trump again. He said Trump would be better, something to the effect that Trump would be better than a radical Democrat, things like this. And he talked about how Trump did good things before the coup. So basically what they're talking about, I know what they're talking about when they say good things before the coup. They're talking about tax cuts for the wealthy. They're talking about 226 federal judges, ultra-conservative judges, lifetime appointments, so they can maintain control of the legislative branch, the judicial branch of the federal government. And they're talking about 3 Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe versus Wade and possibly other long-standing constitutional rights as well. So this is why these people voted for him. Now, Rusty Bowers, he just wasn't willing to go to prison for Trump, but he's willing to vote for this domestic terrorist again. This is why the 2020.
Well, the next day he backtracked from that somewhat.
They always backtrack when their ass gets caught. They always backtrack when they get caught. Just like Representative Senator Mike Braun, he backtracked when it exploded, when he talked about states' rights when it came to, I think it was interracial marriage. I think that was what it was, the Republican. They always backtrack when the spotlight is on them. And then when it's safe to go back to their original position, which is how they feel, this is what they revert back to. Kevin McCarthy, when the spotlight was on him, he denounced Trump. 2 weeks later, his ass is down kissing Trump's ring. No telling what else he kissed down in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, and then he's supporting Trump and defending him. They always backtrack when their ass gets busted. So what we have to make sure that we do is vote them out of power and make sure they never get back in power again. This is about self-preservation. This 2022 midterm election, this is the first midterm election since an insurrection, since the 1866 midterm election after the Civil War. This is the most crucial. I turn 51 in June. This is the most crucial midterm election I've ever seen or read about in modern history. So this is about self-preservation.
The thing that drives me crazy, Kelly, is when I just listen to just stupid stuff. And increasingly, Harris Faulkner at Fox News just says some of the dumbest shit. Okay? She literally, I know Harris. I've seen her at NABJ. Went to the Apollo Theater Spring Benefit but just some of the dumbest shit. Just and don't try to act like you the journalist, and so you're not giving your opinion on stuff. Like when I ripped her for comments about Don Lemon and others last week. But Kelly, listen to this stupid ass comment.
Them, put them in a basket of deplorables. And I think that's what have Trump supporters or MAGA people so upset. It's not a point of disagreeing with them. It's to call them racist. It's to call them dumb and appalling. I think this is going to hurt them in the next election because that same wave of people are rising up. And a lot of people that did not necessarily like Donald Trump emotional appeal now say, economically, when it comes to safety, when it comes to the border, we were better off.
Yeah, and that's the question that will be posed. But it's really interesting because they were trying to shame people into changing their beliefs by insulting them, which just reinforced why they were looking for something else in the first place. And it's kind of shocking. They couldn't separate the Trump voters and what they wanted, what they were missing in their lives versus Trump the person, someone they disagreed with and had issues with personally. Why now?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to Hillary Clinton for just a second. And I normally don't blame one person for an entire movement, nor do I give them total credit either. But she was a specific case of bringing hate to a new level in this country. Her husband was the one in dynamically similar straits that we are today economically who said, "I feel your pain," to every single American. He was able to do something that really we haven't seen anybody do since, and that's bring the entire country together. Maybe for just that moment, and Lord knows he had his issues, right? But with her, it particularly was damaging for her to express her hate for half the country after having been in a White House for 8 years when it wasn't specifically like that. When people were really down and you didn't kick them when they were down. You tried to help them with a better economy, with saying that you understood them. So now you fast forward and we get the Clinton crowd, the Hillary Clinton version of that crowd, as you say. And we're only growing more of them because it's easier sometimes to profligate hate than it is to shed your grace and love, apparently.
Yes.
Cleaning your gutter system is a never-ending project.
Come on. What? Well, maybe y'all were confused and controlling because I was. What? Like,
I have no
like
idea
what the
what
fuck?
you
What?
just said.
What the hell is Harris talking about? I mean, that must be some good shit she's smoking.
She's playing a position.
No. But no. That's some like really good, like that's some good shit she's smoking. Because, everybody was cool. Clinton brought everybody together. That was unified. And then, here's the hilarious part. Hillary made her deplorables comment on September 10th, 2016. 2 months before the election.
Right.
Kelly, I think MAGA folk had already gotten behind. And I love this whole deal where these folk act like, you're calling them racist. True. Xenophobic. True. Dumb. True. So, they're even more now upset, and then you go, well, yeah, but there are people, there are people who, they disagreed with Trump. No, they didn't. The fact of the matter is, we're gonna do the big unveil in a moment for my book, White Fear, because the book has finally come in. And the fact of the matter is, Kelly, Trump gave them permission to be openly racist. He gave them permission to be openly sexist. He gave them permission to do what they do. Now they're like, yo, our man has arrived. There's no longer the need to apologize. We don't have to backtrack, do whatever. That's what this evil, demented, sick, despicable individual actually did. I don't know what these two black people, I don't even know what black neighborhoods they even come from, saying some dumb shit like that. I mean, it's flat out. Lawrence, you're a liar, and Harris, you're an absolute liar. Kelly, go ahead.
I mean, it's really interesting to me on several fronts, the rise of this revisionist history that we're seeing as we are becoming more attenuated by the day from the Trump administration because he's no longer in office, right? But it's like this heavy push to revise and contort history, because if they don't, they are beholden to the truth, which is the fact that they are being led by a cult leader. They are being led by a white supremacist. They are being led by somebody who ascribes to the doctrine of Hitler and actually perpetuated that doctrine for the 4 years that he was president of the United States. And it's fascinating, but also simultaneously frustrating and just sad to see that happening. Harris talking about the Clinton administration, I have no idea what she was talking about. I have no idea what she just said, because from what I recall of the Clinton administration, they tried to get this man out of office for having oral sex on a taxpayer's dime. That pales in comparison to Trump literally organizing a coup to overtake the United States. I do not see how there is any comparison there. I don't even understand what she said to be containing a modicum of truth, because that's not how I remember it. That's not how history wrote it to be remembered.
Nothing she said was factual. Nothing. Like
it wasn't supposed to be.
Like just zero. Like you're living in Never Never Land with that. Oh yeah, Hillary. And then to say Hillary took hate to a higher level when this fool descended down the escalator and calling Mexicans rapists, trashing everybody. I mean, first of all, Harris, how can you as a black woman completely overlook the level of hate that Donald Trump projected at black women? Never telling John Kelly to apologize to Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. His hate at Congresswoman Maxine Waters. His hate at Omarosa when she left. I mean, the literal hatred. But there's, Hillary, she took it. Hillary is responsible for the MAGA movement. No. The man launched the campaign the year before. Oh, Harris, shall I remind you that Donald Trump was a birther? Is a birther? Harris, Melania, that lying birther, what the hell was that? Oh, that was 2011, 5 years before Hillary's deplorables campaign. I mean, look, I get there are folks on Fox News who got to sell out for a check. That's not just black, white folks over there too. Right. Okay, but what you're not gonna do, well, they'll let you get away with it because you can easily lie on that network, and that's why I absolutely pray that Dominion takes them for billions. I hope Dominion gets billions from OAN. I hope they get billions from Fox News, because somebody has to make them pay for lying. It is a lying network. They lie to their viewers. And that's why they won't show the January 6 hearings in prime time, because they like to lie. They want those white conservatives, clueless, and dumb to practice their racism and their xenophobia. And yes, people, just having a black face on Fox News. Lawrence, remember that idiot who was down? First of all, I don't know how Lawrence still has his damn job after he castigated all the media and praised the Uvalde cops. How did that turn out, Lawrence? How did that turn out? So how he still sits on the set with a job, but then again, it is Fox News. But they are purposely lying because they want to lie themselves into power in January 23, and they will lie themselves into power in 2024. And folks, so just understand it. And it's I can't even, and it just drives me crazy when I see folk who want to pretend like, oh, they're journalists and no one else is. But you're just gonna knowingly lie like that. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, Kelly, what in the hell Clinton administration they're talking about. Maybe there's a fictitious one in some TV show that we haven't quite seen yet. I don't even know. Let me do this here, folks. Let me go to a break because I need to get the stench of the lying of Fox News off of this set. Yes, the stench of the lying we just heard. All right, y'all, several things. First of all, we've got university president in Baltimore. He is retiring, took the university to huge heights. He's hanging it up. We'll talk with him in our Education Matters segment. Also, you get the first reveal of my book, White Fear. It is here. I'm going to unbox it right here on the set. Plus, we'll hear from my man John Grant with ESPN talking about what they're doing with HBCUs this upcoming football season. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support us by downloading the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Bring the Funk Fan Club, folks. So please support us with your dollars. Check money orders, P.O. Box 57196. Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Sexy to me is the exact same feeling as running water, ever flowing. Water always finds a way to get through. And so when you know that you're sexy, there are no questions about it. It is an ever-flowing emotion. It is an ever-flowing feeling. Mm-hmm. When you question it, though, you stop the water. I struggle with this a lot, mainly because I've been told what sexy should look like, what it should feel like. As a model who did Sports Illustrated, you're told that this is what sells sexy. But then you travel the world, and what's sexy to one person is not sexy to another person. I'm more of a mindfuck kind of person. How can you stimulate the brain? Mm-hmm. To me, that's sexy.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and on the next Get Wealthy, have you heard that it's not how much you earn, but how much you keep that matters? Well, the secret to building wealth could be hidden in our tax code. That's right. Joining me on the next Get Wealthy is someone who calls herself the gatekeeper to the IRS. And she's going to be sharing the secrets and strategies you need to know, whether you're a business owner or an individual, how you can get wealthy. That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey, everybody, it's your girl, Lunel.
So what's up? This is your boy, Earthquake.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Sheldon Smith went missing from Baltimore City, Maryland yesterday. The 13-year-old is 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 110 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Sheldon was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, burgundy sweatpants, and black flip-flops. Anyone with information with regards to Sheldon Smith, please call the Baltimore City, Maryland Police Department at 410-396-2525, 410-396-2525.